Morning, all iLive listeners and those paying attention to the YouTube channel. Coach Mike here, and I'm here with a good friend of mine named George from Scarborough, and he's got an interesting story to tell. How you doing, George?
Good, I'm good. Scarborough, stand up. Thanks for having me, Mike. This is
Yes,
this is
sir.
exciting.
This is the health and fitness show, and George lost 80 pounds, and that's huge. I want to know how he did it, and I want to know how it all started. George,
Hmm.
where are you from originally, George?
Like ethnically,
Yeah.
so my father's Syrian, my mother's Turkish.
Okay.
I was born in Turkey, but at 2 we came here, and I pretty much just grew up in Scarborough since then.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what's I always like to dive into what it's like as far as your eating habits at as a child and culturally. What
Mm.
were you growing up eating? How is it?
A lot of carbs. I feel like especially the Turkish side, they eat a lot of bread, a lot of rice. And it's interesting because when you go to Turkey, most people have a pretty low body weight. Like they're not overweight. There's not too much fat people there because you're walking a lot. Everything is like within walking distance. But here, I really liked sugary stuff and carbs. And from a young age, like I just loved eating. It was kind of like a fun thing for me to do. It wasn't really something I did for nutrition, but for enjoyment when I was bored.
No, it's funny because I know when I start diving into conversations with guys from the Caribbean, they start talking about all the salt that they ate and all the stuff that they ate. Now
Mm.
as far as your body, how was your body image as a child growing up?
At the beginning, like when you're like young, I was still like running around playing soccer all the time. So I didn't really have even an idea of body image until like dudes starting to start to have like six packs at like 12 or like 11, 12. Like that's when like the ripped dudes, like you could tell they were ripped. And that's kind of when I was aware, like, oh, I was like a little tubs, like I was a little chubby, but it was like baby fat. And I wasn't too fat. And then growing up, I think in high school, you become a lot more aware of it, especially because some people kind of came into high school looking grown already. Like they were like grade nines with like that were fully tatted, kind of jacked,
Yeah.
and I kind of still looked like a kid and I had a lot of baby fat.
But George,
And
you played soccer growing up,
yeah,
right? So you
soccer, I
were
was doing
active.
sports. Yeah,
You're an active dude, right?
yeah,
So I
yeah.
think the only thing you were missing at that time was just a diet, right?
100% diet and discipline. I felt like it's interesting because my parents, they never had like junk food at the house.
Hmm.
So whenever I would go to like a cousin's house and there'd be like chips or cakes or like Coke, like I would definitely indulge because they'd never ever bought that. Every now and then, like my mom would like let me have McDonald's or something, but I
Well,
felt
she
like,
understood the power of nutrition, more or less.
yeah,
She understood what was garbage food from what was really good food.
yeah, absolutely. And looking back, it was probably a good decision, but I felt that because I was deprived of it when I had the opportunity to do it, when like strict parents create sneaky children. You know that saying? It's kind of like that with the food because at home I had to eat healthy, and then when I went out, it's like, oh, like I could have like a Whopper, or like I could have like an ice cap, or
So
it was like an escape.
when you say healthy, you mean just like basically healthy, like not a
Very,
lot of sugar, not whole lot of salt, but
yeah.
you had the bread, you had the rice, you had all the basic stuff there, right?
Yeah, and looking back, I don't think it was the carbs. I think, they had really simple foods, like whole foods. And I think, when you eat junk food, simple whole foods, like they don't taste as exciting?
So when did you start to look at yourself differently in the mirror? When did you assess there was an issue to you?
Yeah, I would say like grade 11. I think grade 11 is when I was like, and I still like had like a girlfriend and I was still kind of socially acceptable. I wasn't obese, right? Like I was acceptably fat. And I think, especially with men, like we're kind of allowed to get away with a certain amount of fat that it's like, oh, you just look normal, like you look healthy, and then grade 11, that's when like, people started getting like for real jacked and like going to the gym all the time. And, I wasn't on any competitive sports teams because I didn't have the athletic ability due to my weight and lifestyle. So grade 11 is when I was like, I would try to do little diets here and there. I would try to hit up the gym, but it was always half-hearted. And then once I hit university, that's when like, oh, like, okay, like this is starting to become a problem. And
How was your confidence level up to grade 11? Because you're saying grade 11,
Mhm.
third year in high school,
Mhm.
you now identified the problem. So you must have been fine coming up. Like, were you 80 pounds overweight all the time
I would
coming
say
up?
I was always at least like 40 or 50. 80 was like the height of it when I was like, that's enough. But I was always like 40, 50 pounds overweight and at least. And I didn't like fully grow into my height yet. So it didn't look that good.
How did it affect your confidence coming
It's
up?
interesting because I was insecure about it, but I had to overcompensate by being extra confident because I needed to have an edge. So I needed to be like funny or like quick witted because I wasn't happy with myself, but I had to show people that I accepted myself. In fact, I embraced the fatness because I was like, yo, like I get so many girls from being a fat dude. Like,
I find that a
like
lot with comedians and stuff like that. Like, uh, it, I don't think that's just you. Do you find that like a lot of people put that out there first and foremost to see how people absorb it and kind
100%.
of ride with it?
Yeah, 100%. Sometimes they say like the loudest person in the room isn't always the most confident, but you have to give that air of confidence because it's almost like a protective defense for your own insecurities. So
Yeah.
you learn to either develop your skills or be funny or try to even be a bully. Sometimes I wasn't necessarily a bully, but I think those are all strategies that people use to avoid confronting their own insecurities or avoid changing their own insecurities. They just accept it, embrace it. And I would be like, yo, I'm fat athletic. Like I'm athletic for a fat dude. Like, like I would say all these things like,
So this you
looking
were
back.
doing this from what age group?
Yo, this was okay. So grade 11, you're like around 16. I did that honestly, I did that till I lost weight. Like I did that to like 20, 24.
Oh man.
And it makes you pretty egotistic. Like, and you kind of like for lack of better words, like you come across as like an a-hole, like and you kind of have to in order to get people to like you. Because if I just came up to a girl and was like, hey, like, yo, I'm low-key insecure about my weight, like they're not gonna they're not gonna really respond in a good way. But if I'm just like, yeah, like, yo, I got the dad bod, what are you saying, whatever, like it
You
came
really have
across
to
as
show your
confident.
confidence. You really gotta. So you were able to show some sort of confidence. Were you faking it, or were you just showing that side of you?
I think I was confident in my intelligence and I was confident in my uh, interpersonal social communication skills. In terms of like physically, I felt like, at the time, like sexually, I felt confident still. I felt like I wasn't like it didn't really impede on that. So
Okay.
I would just, and I felt like I had a good face. I felt like I had good style, like I had a nice beard the time I had hair, so
Yeah.
I felt that even though the confidence was rooted in like reasons, it wasn't true confidence.
Mm.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, I feel like now I'm truly confident in the sense where I'm calm and confident. Like when they say, like, for example, with UFC fighters, you expect them to be like always trying to fight, always trying to
Yeah.
be violent, but they're actually the most they want to avoid fights, because they know how good like what they
Exactly.
can do, their impact. So I feel like now it's kind of like I avoid trying to be arrogant because like I just know who I am.
You're confident in every aspect.
Yeah.
So grade 11 comes and you've been dealing with, some sort of confidence issues, getting along with people socially and stuff. When did the whole social issues hit you on your head in grade 11 and why?
um I think it was a comparison thing. Also, the group of friends that I was with, uh we were like a mixed group. Some of us were fat, some of us were fit,
Yeah.
but I was pretty cool with like all the dudes like on the basketball team, and I would play basketball with them at lunch, and I could kind of keep up, you know, like I wasn't like that level, but I was good, and I was good enough that like they'd pick me, you know, I had a good shot,
Yeah, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And you know, at the time I had a girl, and I just felt like you know, it wasn't too much of an issue because, you know, sometimes when we would roast each other, like someone would call me fat, and like I
Mhm.
wouldn't really actually get offended because I'd be like, it is like whatever, you know.
Yeah. So you never
Um,
got offended when these words are getting thrown, nothing like that, right?
not really, because I just be like, I know, and I still get girls. Like, you know, like that would be like I would have like a clap back
Yeah, yeah.
for anything. But I just felt that at that age, people, I feel like they started to perceive me differently because I wasn't at a certain caliber of like dude, you know, like there were dudes like the hockey team, like most of them, like, you know, they lifted, they had like visible muscles, low body fat percentage, and I felt like those dudes, for example, like they got like what we considered like the hot girls, or like they had like people kind of respect someone with a good body, you know, not just for the physical aesthetic, but also for what it implies, which is that you're a disciplined person, you know, and that you
Okay.
have something going for you. And I felt because I didn't have that outwardly in terms of my appearance, like maybe people wouldn't approach me with as much respect as they would have if I was jacked, you know?
Do you feel like people were actually choosing to have a friendship with you based on, shallow criteria, like appearance, and a lot of the
Um,
judgments that they perceive on you is all based on appearance?
I think people were definitely more willing to be my friend because I was like the nice fat guy, you know? And I
Mm,
wasn't even too fat. Like there were fatter people to the point where like, you know, I didn't look that fat because some people were really like obese, you know? Like
right.
I wasn't too sloppy. People saw I could play basketball and I was, you know, social, and you know, I wasn't like isolated in the corner, and I wasn't like pigging out in front of everyone, even though like we would all just eat whatever in those days.
If you had to speak for other people that were going through the same thing that you were going through, basically up
Mm,
to grade 11,
yeah.
and you had to talk to other people that don't understand what they're going through, what would
Mm,
you say to those people? What kinds of signs should they see that the smiling that you're seeing might not be a real smile, and
mm.
the person should be supported? Like, what kinds of things should be?
I think we should look out for, you know, I think, like I said, overcompensation and that confidence to the point of arrogance. I think that's something you should look out for, not just in other people, but in yourself.
Mhm.
And realize that it's okay if you want to have a nice body. Like, you don't have to shame yourself per se to be like, oh, I'm disgusting. Like, I'm always going to be like this. And then, like, you know, put your emotions into like a Haagen-Dazs
Yeah.
tub, you know, like that. And I think that's a lot of time what we do, because sometimes it's easier to be miserable than to really change. And change is hard. And I think
Oh
people
man.
expect it to be easy, and people want to do these like, you know, little, oh, I'm gonna cut out these foods, but I'm gonna do calorie restriction, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. But they're doing things that are convenient and easy,
Mhm.
whereas I think the real road to change is going to be difficult. And when you come out of that, you're going to be a stronger person. And I think knowing that it's possible for anyone to get that dream body that they want, or that dream self-image, and not even just for your self-image, but for your health. Like most
Yeah.
importantly, for your health, you can experience life so much easier when you're at like a healthy weight, realistically.
No, for sure. Yeah, we're at grade 11. So tell
Mhm.
us how everything started. When did the light bulb come
Light bulb. I'm not gonna lie, like I always had little light bulbs. I always
in?
knew, like, you know, like throughout the years, like there were so many light bulbs where I was like, oh man, I'm pigging out. Oh, I'm eating two
Oh
Whoppers,
man.
you know, like whatever. And I would just like you know, I would try to do like a little weight loss, and then I would give up, and then I would rebound, and then that was a cycle for like 8 years pretty much. And it wouldn't help that I was
So what did your
functionally
cycle
okay.
consist of?
Yo, it would consist of like, okay, I'm not gonna eat carbs. Like, for
Okay.
example, I'm not gonna eat carbs, or like I'm gonna go vegetarian. And then I would just avoid those foods, maybe eat a lot less. I would maybe go for a run or two, And then eventually, emotionally, I would just, maybe I'd have a cheat day or something. And then I'd be like, yo, man, why am I trying to change who I am, man? I am this fat guy. And then I would
But
just
hold
like,
on. Did you ever try to get a trainer
yeah, at
or,
one
or,
point,
or a nutritionist or anything like before that time?
yeah. At one point I had a trainer at it was Premier Fitness in those days. I don't think it's even Premier Fitness
Premier
anymore.
Fitness?
Yeah.
Oh, you got some age on you. I thought.
Yeah, I'm not that young, you know.
I
Yeah,
thought
it
you.
was Premier Fitness. I had a cool guy. His name was Billy. He was a Filipino trainer, and he was good.
Yeah.
He wouldn't really. He was more like helping me with the exercise part, which I think is definitely really, really
How old were
useful.
you when
This is
this
like
was?
first year university. This is like
Okay, so this is not talking about like before grade
or
11. You
before.
had no instructions,
Not really.
nobody
No
as a source
guidance.
of information, none
Not
like that.
really. Actually, who was a source of inspiration? There was a guy in my school named Jeff
Mhm.
Rivera, I think his last name is. And he used to be fat and he was like a quiet fat dude. And
What
all
school did you
this,
go to?
Cardinal Newman.
Oh yeah, Newman.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I went to Newman. Shout out to Jeff because I saw him lose weight and he was just like a quiet little fat kid. And then all of a sudden, this guy got like pretty jacked and he was hitting the gym all the time. He was exercising. And I messaged him, I think at the time, and then he just told me what he was doing, but he was so dedicated and he was constantly like, it was a slow process, but
When was
this guy,
this?
this
Grade
was like
11?
grade 12, grade 11, grade
Oh, grade
12.
12? All right.
Yeah. And then this guy, he actually became like a bodybuilder and a trainer, and like he shredded and like he looked so happy and he's more confident. And when I would see people lose weight that I knew,
Mm.
that was always like such a huge inspiration because they were in the same position I was in and they did it, right? And it's like, you know, at the end of the day, he didn't really skip any steps. It's not like he had like this quick and easy solution. He was just grinding every day, and I think he was eating right. And that was definitely an inspiration for me. But in terms of like direct guidance,
Yeah.
not really. Like I didn't really have anyone that was like, yo, here's your meal plan. This is how many calories you should eat. This is what time you should eat. Like these are the type of workouts. Like
So you never
never.
seek that or anything like that.
I didn't. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't. I felt like in a sense I was starting to become okay with being fat. Like it wasn't an active pursuit of mine to get rid of it. It was kind of like a half-hearted pursuit where it's like, yeah, I'd like to look good, but worst case, I still look good. Like, like it was like that.
Well, this is it. You know what it is like? I want to make sure people could get helped with their cycle. And that's deadly. And listen to me, that cycle goes in any stage. It could be the bodybuilder guy preparing on stage. He's got a couple bad habits just cycling through.
Mhm.
But I find that you need someone to support you, either with, providing you steps or providing you, motivation. You can do this, you can do this, or
Mhm.
inspiration, kind of letting you know this is where you're going to end up. So you
Mhm.
didn't really have anybody directly kind of pushing you
Yeah.
forward in that regard.
I didn't. And actually a lot of people around me, and I'm not blaming them for it. I know they liked me as a person, but they were enablers to the point where, like they were like, yo, you don't even look fat. Like you're fine, bro. It's like,
Oh
yo, why are
man,
you trying to diet, bro? You're fine, bro. Like even my mom,
they
like
weren't trying.
even
They weren't trying to be real with you.
they weren't. Yeah. And even if, yeah, they really weren't. Some, like a handful of them were a little real with me. And sometimes, like, I'd be like, yo, you know what? You're right. Sometimes I would get a little personally offended because I'd be like,
What would they
yo,
say?
whatever. Yo, like, you're looking tubs. Or like, I remember one guy, Tama, he went to Newman. He was like, yo, you're 2 bills? That's what he said. When I told him I was 200 pounds in grade 12, he's like, you're 2 bills?
And how tall are you?
Well, at the time, now I'm like 5'11" and a half, but like them times I was like 5'9", maybe
5'9",
5'8".
200. Okay.
But it wasn't like a D's 200, it was like,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like pretty athletic. He's like, yo, dude, you're 2 bills? Like, and he's a trainer now, actually, funny enough. But I always remember him saying that because like I could hear like the shock in his voice, and I knew he was a healthy, like pretty athletic person. So that's when I knew. And then as I started to grow in weight, I was like, wow, I'm like Kobe Bryant's weight now. Or it's like, oh wow, I weigh the same as LeBron, but like he's, like as I started to keep like 210, 220, 230, 240, I was like, oh, like I weigh the same as this guy. But
So you had these people motivating you in their way because usually when you're breaking a cycle, there's like, you got to burn through 10 human beings that are supporting you before you actually get things going. Who really pushed you over the hub and said, and you got the wheels moving?
A couple people. There was this one person named Joshua Stark. Shout out to him. So what happened is I returned from a trip in Dominican. At the time, I was with one of my former partners, and she was like all about like body positivity and like fat acceptance and all that stuff, right? And I was like pretty big, and I was like, I just fell into it. Then I came back from Dominican, I was like 255, and that's like the heaviest I'd seen, right? And I was like, whoa, like I'm 250, like I'm 250.
So she was accepting everything, but she wasn't really supporting the other direction.
Not at all. Actually, when I would try to diet, she would like try to put extra food on my plate because she didn't want to be the fat girlfriend. She didn't want to. Yeah, it was bad, bro. It was, and this is happening. This is happening a lot more, bro. So if you're in that position, like,
that's horrible.
Choose your health.
You're supposed to have some support.
Jesus. I know, 100%. I agree. And yeah, it's at that point when I was 255, and then my boy, he was like posting all this stuff about like how he lost like 15 pounds in a week, and I'm like, bro, how'd you lose 15 pounds in a week? Like, he's like, yo, fasting. And I was like, what? Like,
well, there you go. That's what I was looking for. That's the direct person that's going to now help you with this. Everybody needs that in a cycle.
Yeah. And he was like, yo, look at you. He's like, look at yourself, like feel like your stomach, that's all food. You can tap into that, right? And then I was like, fasting, like, okay, I'll give it a go. And then, a part of me was into it because you don't really have to do anything. And I was kind of not worried that I would pass out because I have so much fat on me that like my body is not stupid, like my body's not gonna like shut itself down. It has food. And he told me about ketosis. Keep in mind, this guy was doing like intense, like week-long 5-day fast at the time. And like, I'm pretty sure like he was like smoking weed in that time and stuff, drinking water. Sometimes he would say do dry fasting. And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna just try a 2-day fast.
Did you do any research on it? Because there's lots of benefits. Okay.
I did. I started to do research.
What did you learn from it? What did you take from it?
I learned that fat is stored energy, one.
Yeah.
Right. And as one of the law of thermodynamics states, like energy can never be destroyed. It could either be like transferred or, moved to another place. But like, so that energy that I had on me, I was like, okay, I can tap into that. Then I learned about autophagy, like how, your cells eat the bad cells and they remove cells that can potentially cause like disease.
Yeah, that's a big deal with the fasting. I think that's the most important aspect outside of restricting calories and obviously looking better from that side, but the health points are crazy.
Yeah. And also like, I've always considered myself to be like a religious or spiritual person, and every religion fasts. So like fasting has been around for like millennia. So I'm not smarter than like the wisdom of all those, of our ancestors. Like they obviously knew something. And, and the Bible talks about fasting. These prophets are fasting for 40 days. And I was like, okay, like, so maybe there's something to this.
You got the intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
You got the 24-hour fast. Some people like to do the 3-day fast. Then then it's off the spectrum. You got those who are trying to go for like 20 days and things like that. And, a lot of doctors are saying you shouldn't go past, say, 3 days. Where were you in?
Okay. So at first, just to desensitize myself, I did a 2-day fast just to see like
right off the top.
Yeah, off the top.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's great.
Keep in mind though, like I used to smoke cigarettes, so like I was smoking cigarettes in that time, like so. Whenever I'd get hungry, I would just smoke a cigarette and drink water. Yeah, it was like it's like a model. That's like what the model diet. Like a lot of supermodels used to do that diet. But I was like, I really broke my relationship with food to the point where it's like I realized that all these instinctual urges to like go to the kitchen, look for something, they weren't really
that I want to mention, because when I did a 24-hour fast, and the first thing that goes is that relationship with food, like that need, like you need it, right? That was huge. That was huge for me.
That was
And
the biggest thing.
yeah, that's the biggest thing. Once you realize you could actually release that whole feeling, it sets, well, it kind of gets you in the right place to get back to eating and introducing proper nutrition.
Mhm.
So you did the 2-day fast, and then what did you do after?
I actually broke that fast with a keto meal. So pretty much, Josh was telling me about the keto diet as well as ketosis through fasting. And I was like, okay, like right now, my body is using fat as fuel. Let me keep it that way. So, I would have like eggs and like olives and like, meats. I was and avoiding carbs. And, I actually felt a pretty steady state of energy that was maintained, right? Like, when most of us, like, we use carbs as our main source of fuel, when you run low on carbs, you feel like tired, fatigued,
Mm,
etc. But we have so much access to fats, like just on us, as well as like through foods like eggs, avocados, meats, etc., that, like, you don't really feel that crash. Obviously it's not as fun of a diet in terms of
mm.
like sensationally, like just the taste.
So
And
break it down. What were you eating? Like, I know you said the keto diet, but what kinds of, list some of the foods you were limiting yourself to, and what were your eating times, I guess?
okay, so when I actually, like, so after the 2-day fast, I broke it with like a keto meal, and then like I would just do whatever. And then I did another like 5-day fast one day, still smoking cigarettes, but my eating was whatever. I was eating like anything I wanted afterwards because I was just like ready to binge. When I actually lost the weight is when I started to implement a 1 meal a day protocol. And in that meal, every day, 4 p.m., I would eat either eggs, I would
Hmm.
have fish
Hmm.
or some kind of meat, beef, chicken, olives. I would have walnuts, avocado. And you shout out to my mom because she would prepare those meals for me because she was like really, really like a big part of it
So
because
she was supporting you. That's great.
at that point she was supporting me because she started to see the little results. And then my
Mm,
uncle, I remember I was just starting to lose weight, but I was still pretty big. And my uncle
mm.
was like, yo, you need to lose like 50 pounds, you know?
He just,
And he like fat shamed me pretty much. Like, you're fat, you
man,
need to lose 50 pounds.
whatever
And
progress you think you're seeing, you better, we need lots more.
yeah, and I was like, you know what? Like, this guy's older than me. I'm not gonna like wild out, or I'm not gonna freak out at him. I respect him. And I also knew he was coming from a good place. He was really coming from like, if you in from a place of if you lost 50 pounds, you'd feel better kind of
Of
thing.
course.
And from then it was just like 1 meal a day, 1 meal a day. And I did that pretty consistently. I was pretty hard on it. Keep in mind at the time I was, I don't smoke or do stuff like that anymore. But back in the day, I would do it as a part of the protocol. So if I was
That's good.
hungry, I would smoke, I would indulge, which is I don't recommend. I feel like doing clean fast is a lot more both spiritually satisfying and even physically, like you're not, giving any inflammation to like your lungs or, like the rest of your body. But
I think
that was
that
how it suppressed it.
I think that 1 meal a day is great. I tried it. It's really good. I think the only concern is the nutrient density that you have to make sure is applied to that whole meal. Do you eat
Exactly.
fruits? What else do you eat?
I
Or at
well,
that
I've
time?
in that I wasn't eating any fruits, any breads, any rice in
So
those
keto,
like
there's
2 months.
no fruits, right?
Some people say like you can have a couple blueberries, but I was like strict keto because I was like, I want to make sure that my source of fuel is just fats. Like, only because I had so much on me that I was like, I had my sugar fun, I had my processed sugar, I had my fruits. Like, now is the time to like buckle down and like use what I stored kind of thing. Like, I really got pretty strict about it. And it was the first time in my life that I was super, super disciplined on something and not just like giving up when it got uncomfortable. And I started to like embrace the discomfort. Like, and I was watching these, fasting videos or like motivational videos about like embracing discomfort. And that's when like I really tapped into like who I truly was, when I was able to realize that I could resist pain or embrace it even and keep going forward, even though like it'd be so easy to just eat a donut right now, like, that just building that mental fortitude changed me as a person. It changed people around me, and a lot of people start to take notice. And I started to be less tolerant of things that I might have been more tolerant of before that were harmful for me, whether it be like habits. And like I stopped drinking completely because I'm like, okay, that's not keto, like that'll take you out of ketosis.
And
And I just,
alcohol really adds, to the fat that's on your body.
oh my goodness, bloating. Like it's honestly like, if unless you're consuming alcohol in like a healthy fashion, like I don't recommend it, especially if you're
Were you
trying to
drinking
lose
a
weight.
lot?
Yeah, like because I was working in like a studio, so like I wasn't drinking too much, but whenever it was there, like obviously I would drink. And like
Yeah.
all these dudes were like, they weren't that fat, so they could drink whatever. But for me, like if you already have fat, you already have a big belly, and then you're putting a bunch of beers on top of that, and you're putting a bunch of liquor on top of that, and then obviously you're gonna chase it with some pop, like you
Yeah.
will feel bloated and like you will look bloated and you will it's just
Plus the
not
stuff you eat
good.
with that, right? The nuts, the bear nuts, the pizzas, everything. It just
Yeah,
it doesn't stop, right?
100%. You're gonna order food, like
So George, what about like your workout? Let's talk about the workout. The diet was solid one.
mhm.
So with one meal a day, uh, tell me about the workout, but I want to know about your energy levels too.
My energy levels just purely from the ketones in me were pretty high. In terms of the workout, I started small. I couldn't even do 10 push-ups, so I would just do as many push-ups as I could. I would do little jogs and like little walks.
Mm.
I wasn't going too hard because I knew that, because of my one meal a day protocol, even though I was having pretty like fat dense and calorie dense foods, like I knew I wasn't fueling properly enough to like lift hard, and I couldn't eat after because I already had my one meal. Sometimes I'd like do a little jog before like my meal and then I would eat. But I didn't really even start lifting until I was at like 210, 205. It was just push-ups and running.
How long were you doing that for?
3 months. So
About 3 months?
it took me three
Okay.
months to get from like 255 to like 205, 210, 200, like that range.
And you did that just for a comfort zone, right? That kind of it got you in a routine, in a habit,
Yeah, and I
and you were
also
doing this
thought,
daily, right?
yeah, I was doing it daily, 4 p.m. every single day. Like, and I wouldn't eat out. I didn't have any cheat meals. I was like, I remember telling myself, I started around like April, and I was like, yo, October 6th, my birthday, that's like going to be my cheat meal. But eventually my progress was becoming evident. And I was like, eventually I lost more than I thought I would in a short time. And then I started to eat fruits again. I was like, wow, I love fruits. Like I love watermelon. I love strawberries. Like, I was like, man, like thank God for fruits. Like this is like,
Yeah.
I never need candy again because like fruits are just so good when you deprive yourself of like fruits
How
and then
long did
you
you go without the fruits? Three
3 months.
months?
Yeah,
Yeah, that I would advise against that, but that's good that you tried though. And then
100%. Yeah.
obviously the health impact with the fruits. So you still you eat your fruit. You have fruits in your diet, right? Right now.
Yeah, now I do. Yeah. I try to consume my fruits in the morning, and the fruits I consume, like I'll have dates, bananas, blueberries.
Hmm.
Um, those are pretty much like my big three.
Yeah.
Um, and because I could still get carried away with fruits. And I know that with fructose, our body has like a limit of how much it can take before like, it's gonna like
Store and stuff. Yeah.
store. Yeah. So I'm pretty like cognizant of it still. And obviously, like as someone, I could probably say I was a sugar addict. Like I do mitigate it, because now I won't lose myself in the fruits, and like I'll incorporate it like sparingly. I kind of like eat most foods, but I try to just stay to whole foods, and I love the nutrient benefits of fruit as well. It just
Yeah.
feels like very like natural, like, oh, okay, like this is what God wanted us to
I
do,
love
eat
fruits,
fruits,
man.
like, like
Yeah, I mean it's there. It grows on the earth, right?
exactly.
It's for us. So George, tell me, obviously you got into the cardio, got in the routine. When and how did you get introduced to the weight training aspect?
That's a good question because I think, I had like there's like a little gym in like the condo that I live in, and I
Mhm.
always had access to it. And I just started going, but I didn't really know what to do. I just knew like, bicep curls, and then like that was pretty much the one I was comfortable with. And then eventually I just got really into lifting. I would look at like routines, I would look at like, how to build strength, and
Where
like
would you get
also
this information?
just like YouTube. And there was like a couple of YouTubers. I can't even remember the names. One of them is Matt something. He does more keto stuff. But like I just, because one, when you lift you have to eat more, so I was so happy. I was like, wow, I actually have to eat carbs. Like I actually, like if I want to
Glad
build
you brought that
muscle.
up. That's a huge play when you're getting the body to be more active, right? It needs more
Yeah.
carbs. At least the craving is going to be there. You could starve the crap out of your body as much as you want, but that craving is going to be there. So
Hmm.
you started doing weights and you start to see that the cravings is going up. How did you adjust?
Man, I was just so happy. And then there was a gentleman at the studio I worked at, Ty, shout out to him. He was like a trainer. So, I started like with basic knowledge of pretty much nothing. Then he kind of took my knowledge to another level in terms of like functional strength, and even
What
just
was
like
he sharing with you?
hmm?
What was he sharing with you?
He was sharing with me like how like a lot of it was not just strength training, but really the mind muscle connection, and
Yes.
being able to kind of isolate what part of your body you're working on and
Mhm.
focusing on it, and even just like perfecting a basic squat with no weights, and like
Mhm.
lunges and like weightless exercises. And then, at the time too, like I started getting into like boxing, like not seriously, but I had a boy who's like, he's really into UFC, and I was getting into UFC.
Mhm.
And, we would do like boxing stuff together. And that gave me a little more confidence, because now I have things that I could just do at home without any weights to kind of work on my strength. And I started just at every opportunity I could, like I wanted to go for a walk, or I wanted to stand up, or I wanted to shadow box, or like, like lift weights. Like I just started loving physical movement. Uh,
How long did you do the boxing for, as far as like an hour workout? What were you doing in the boxing? Because that's a lot of cardio, right?
yeah, with the boxing, like honestly, we wouldn't even time it, like because we used to do like wrestling, and then he would just like hold pads, and I would like do something, but
Yeah.
I didn't even have that much stamina to like go for an hour, but it
Oh,
was
really?
just
How
like,
come you weren't working on stamina at the time?
yeah. And I felt like with boxing stamina, a lot of it is breathing, and a lot of it is technique. And I felt like, when I was starting, like throwing a punch, like now I can probably throw way more punches without getting gassed. But
Right.
back in those days, like, I throw a few good ones, and eventually it's like you could tell, like, after the first round, like I'm just like, okay, like,
Well, they're training you to do a lot of push-ups and skipping, no? Pull-ups and stuff.
I wasn't doing skipping then. Now I do skipping, but yeah, like I was doing push-ups. He wasn't like a formal trainer. He was just like my neighbor and like my friend
Oh,
from high school. And he was like, "Yo, man, you down to train?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he was teaching me like how to wrestle and stuff. And like I just loved it. Like I have a half brother. He like did judo and like karate, and he was in the army in Turkey. And then my uncle, my mom's brother, like he taught like karate and taekwondo. And I just felt like I tapped into like a part of like my genetics, that it was like
yeah,
that fighter spirit or something, and I
yeah.
was just like, I loved it. And it was part of like,
Ancestral spirit.
yeah, like my just like, I want to say ancestral spirit, but like, yeah, they have that,
Yes.
like that, maybe that propensity for like, maybe not violence, but just perfecting yourself and technique and hard work and being able to resist through pain. Like that's what I like about mixed martial arts and boxing, is like the mental part of it is so rejuvenating for you. It's like, okay, like, yo, I can do this. I can get through it. I can eat this punch. Like, it's a great attitude to have for life. Like,
When you were doing the weight training and you were getting the advice on how to properly execute all the movements, the right technique and things like that, were you focusing on just isolating the muscle, or were you also doing compound movements
I think
to
at the
burn more calories and stuff? And
I think at the beginning it was just isolating the muscle, because, and even just form, because, even for example with bicep curls, like if you're lifting something that's too heavy, your back is going to want to help, like you're.
exactly, it has to be the right technique, isolating the right muscle.
Exactly. And that really made me appreciate my body, because I'm like, wow, like even when you just flex, and you could really have like little dumbbells and make it feel so heavy just by like tapping in to your muscle correctly, to the point where you don't even need weights.
That's where that's where instruction and technique is a big deal. Did you have someone beside you helping you, or was it more remote instruction?
Honestly, Ty helped me a lot. And people who were starting to see the weight loss, because I would post like little IG stories here and there, and people were like, "Whoa, like you lost a lot of weight. What did you do?" Like, you know. But I would say at the time, Ty helped me a lot. And then afterwards, when I got with Buko, he kind of took me to another level in terms of unlocking like my athletic abilities. And he's big on, mobility and like flexibility and like being able to move
Being
sharply.
functional, being
Yeah,
very functional.
functional.
So he was what other things was he combining with your weight training? Because that's huge.
Oh man,
Because
Buko's tough.
lot of people need to understand, to lose weight, you have to have two things working for you. Your system to burn fast. Your system to burn fat, right? And just your ability to have the right diet so you can restrict some of these calories going, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as the training styles, were you doing HIIT in any way?
Yeah, like Buko would do HIIT as a warm up, and then I'd be like toast, and it's like, all right, let's start the workout. Like he was like and he was really good at giving my body things and activities that it wasn't used to, like.
Shaking it up a bit.
Yeah,
And,
because
and
your
that,
body adapts. Like if I just keep doing bicep curls, like eventually I might plateau if it's like, similar weights, whatever. But he was giving me functional exercise that I'd never done that had to do with balance and like your
yeah.
core and things I never really tapped into. And in terms of even my body composition, it changed a lot
Yeah,
when I started to work with cold hearted conditioning and Buko. And
because you're recruiting more muscles.
yeah, I was creating more muscles
Mhm.
and I just felt overall like stronger,
Mhm.
At the time when I came to him, I was like 190, 195. And to be honest, I'm not gonna lie, like when I was lifting with him and stuff, I kind of would eat whatever I wanted because at that point I felt like one, I might have earned it in terms of like all the weight loss I did, and two, like I was lifting a lot and like using the
You're burning
carbs.
through calories.
Yeah, and I wanted to boost my metabolism. I didn't want to be used to like a low calorie as like my set. I wanted to set it as high as I could because I want to eat as often as I can,
Yeah. Well,
And
the good thing is, I think that you're young enough to burn through calories with a lot of activities without worrying about, injuries, joints, and then you're really relying on a diet just to keep a good body composition. So you started to combine mobility training, functional training, you did HIIT training. HIIT is high intensity interval training. And now, as far as the time allocation, how much time a week were you giving activities to burn calories, like cardio and stuff like that? And then how much were you giving for just straight weight training?
That's a good question. At the beginning, it was mostly cardio. I would try to do 3 to 4 days and building on that mental fortitude I was speaking of, like I was trying to do like, 10K, 12K, 14K. Like I was really like doing long jogs and just really like I just felt like Rocky or something. Like I was just like in
Were
a
you going in the
zone
morning? Were you running in the morning?
in the mornings, yeah. And it was just such like I fell in love with like the runner's high and just like being able to continue. And the most I've ever ran was like 21K. And
It's a
I
lot
was
of
I was like,
kilometers.
yeah, and like I just like I loved it, and I still do love it. I try to run still, but I be just doing like 6 7K. But now I do more walking a lot. I love walking everywhere, and weight training was like 3 4 times a week. Like my whole life became like really just
So you started
body.
running in the mornings, three,
Mm-hmm.
4 days a week. You
Mm-hmm.
kept up some sort of a diet that was clean. But because
Yeah,
I'm
to an
with
extent,
all the
yeah.
jogging and activities, you're just whipping through calories now, right?
Yeah, I was.
How is your knees? I know you're not an older guy, but I like to ask, like, that 21 kilometers, man, daily. Like, how are your knees? Was that one of the reasons why you started walking, or like, well,
I started so my knees, like first of all, I already had prior to like all this weight loss, I had a knee surgery. I had like a torn
goodness,
meniscus on my right knee. And
you still went jogging?
yeah, I still went jogging.
Oh wow!
Actually my knees weren't that, it was my hips. I felt like my hips would tighten up when I would do those, but I would just like bite it and just go through it.
Oh God! Don't do
And
that.
now actually Buko actually helped me with like the stretching and understanding how important stretching is to not even before, just before the activity, but after. And how to really help your body heal from those
Well, yeah,
intense things. Cause I
energy
would have
here.
like blisters on my feet. Like I just like would, I kind of like just embrace like the nastiness of it. Cause I liked it,
How did you manage your hips? How
you
did
know,
you manage your knee with the meniscus after jogging and stuff? Like what kinds of things did you do to take care of your body?
At the beginning, nothing. Like sometimes I would just do like the little butterfly stretch. That was it. I would just do a butterfly stretch for like a minute,
Yeah.
and then that was it. That would be my recovery. And honestly, my body would adjust. And a lot of it was, I just felt like it was so psychological because like I just felt like I wouldn't even feel the physical pain until after. And worst case, like afterwards, like I go home, I take a hot shower, kind of relax my muscle. I might lay down, then I'll eat and I'll feel okay. And, I might not run for like maybe 2 days after. And then I would try to get back on it. I was playing basketball like later that day. Like I was just so obsessed, Mike. I was obsessed with
You're
fitness. Like
seeing results, right? You're seeing a lot of different results, not only from your body composition. You're seeing results now with your endurance,
yeah.
your performance. I'm assuming in basketball and everything like that.
Everything, even my relationships with people, my relationships with my parents, like even my
Let's
my
talk about
whole
your relationship with yourself. How is the confidence level now?
ooh, now I'm confident, and I thank God every day for like giving me the strength, and at the same time I'm still hungry and humble to the point where I'm trying to keep pushing. I'm trying to be
Yeah.
the best version of myself. Like your body is your temple, and it's like I just love that. Like I feel like I don't need too much in life now that I've unlocked fitness. Like I feel like as long as I can do some kind of fitness activity, as long as I could shadow box, do some push-ups, like I'll be happy. Like it really became like a huge outlet for me.
Now, I want to get in, like, you've really showed a lot of development of the way you were been thinking and approaching fitness and stuff. Just to get even detailed with your training, um, have you found yourself in a good place as far as how much activities you want to do versus how much weight training you want to do, and a good balance so you're not overdoing the activities to the point of injury? And
Mhm.
where are you now? What place are you in now?
So now, like, I haven't been going to like the gym as much, but I have a kettlebell.
Okay.
So I've been doing that. I try to do like at least 100 push-ups a day or like every other day. And I have like these little like weighted dumbbells. So I'll do boxing and then I'll just walk. I like walking a lot. So like, cause you know what I realized, like I was doing all this weight training and actually eventually I got COVID. So I had COVID
Okay.
and I had to take it easy for a little bit.
How was your
And
experience with COVID?
it could have been worse. Like I can't complain. I didn't lose my taste, thankfully, because I love food.
Hmm.
But I felt actually a lot of muscle aches, and I felt like that's because I was working out all the time, and obviously muscle aches are a symptom of COVID. But that's where it hit me the most was like back and muscle aches and headache, fatigue. But like I was fine. Like in terms, my parents
How long did you go through that?
I would say 2 weeks because, like, they say you're good after 10 days, and I started to feel better after 10 days. But then afterwards, I felt like my cardio wasn't where it was before. Like, I actually would still go for runs, but it just wasn't the same. And I was like, okay, maybe I should take it easy because I started to feel like chest palpitations and like chest aches. Like, I was like, okay, I'm not trying to have a heart attack. Like, I was, I trust God at the end of the day, but I knew that like like I knew I wasn't at 100%, which is why I started walking a lot. Like I was walking
Yeah,
before that, I would walk to work for like every day I walked to work 4 kilometers there, 4 kilometers back. So that's just 8K just going to work, like just walking. And I
that's a lot of
couldn't,
calorie burning.
yeah. And it's fun and you don't really notice it. And it's also like it's also a passive way to recover too. Like, it's kind of like, when they say like instead of just laying down to recover, like, do very mild, light
Yeah.
exercises. And I just fell in love with walking and moving. Now I do like I never used to do like pull-ups and stuff. So now I be doing pull-ups and I just like look for every opportunity I can to like get a pump in and just feel healthy. I throw in
Do you have a
fasting here and
structured
there.
do you have a structured pump going on for your muscles, like a structured daily
I
routine or anything like that?
I try to, but some days, like for example, some days I won't even touch the kettlebell. Uh, some days I'll just, mess with the kettlebell. Some days I'll play basketball. Some days I'll go for a run. I
Mhm.
try to walk every day, and I try to do my push-ups every day. Um,
What do you do for kettlebells? Do you
I
focus
do.
on hips?
Yeah, I just do the
I
swings.
figured,
I try to do the tricep, like I try to do this.
tricep extension.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I'll do like bicep curls just individually because I just have one 30-pound kettlebell, but I was just like, I'm so happy with it because like you can
How many
do so
sets do you
much.
usually do?
Yo, honestly, I don't even do that many sets. I just do enough to like feel a pump, and
Uh-huh.
then like I'll eat. And now I can't lie, like when I'm gonna move back home, and once, because then I'll have access to a gym and stuff, then
Mhm.
I'm gonna go back into like a routine and building. But now it's just been like mild maintenance and feeling good, like because I would go
It's the main
super
thing.
hard. I would go super hard at the gym, but like at the same time, like I felt sore all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to give, and COVID was a good opportunity for me to, one, recover, and two, kind of like take it easy, but still have that hunger that, because at the end of the day, like I just want to be as healthy as possible. I don't necessarily want to be super, super jacked because honestly, like even eating a lot now, like I don't try to eat as much as, because before it's like, oh, I can't wait to eat all this. I have to eat 3,000 calories. I'm excited. And then
Yeah.
like I would do it and I'm like, man, like I feel bloated all the time,
Yeah.
constipated, like, so now it's just more about health and overall like holistic health as opposed to like trying to make gains or trying to.
You don't have to say anything. You know what it is? It's like when people train and commit a lot of time to their body, there's things you just have to sacrifice. If you're willing to put in that kind of work, you're going to sacrifice time. You're going to sacrifice money for food. You're going to sacrifice sleep because you're going to have to get more rest,
Hmm.
right? So it's not for everybody. You
Yeah.
found a place that you like to be. First of all, you lost the fat percentage that you wanted off.
Hmm.
You have the acceptable endurance that you're looking for with the walking and everything.
Hmm.
And then it's like from a strength standpoint, you understand how much time you want to commit. You know what kind of results you're going to get from that. And time will change. Like your time commitment will change in the future. So that's good, man.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe when gyms open up, I'll try to get like, because I do want more muscle, 100%, but it's like I just want health first, like because I know some people that they lift a lot and stuff, but they're not healthy. Like it's like a lot on their body and they're stressed and like, they may look super jacked, but like it may not be the best thing for their body. And then some people will go the extra step and like, use roids or whatever. And like I just knew that like I'm comfortable with how I look now. To be honest, I could lose a little more like belly fat and replace it with muscle. And I definitely am just like I like to enjoy it, like, and I'll enjoy weightlifting and stuff. But I feel like you said, you have to be on top with the food. Like you have to meal prep if you're gonna do that. You can't just eat whatever and then lift all the time. Like you
It's a
really have
commitment.
to get your calories and you have to eat at certain times and you have to eat whole foods. And it's like it's a commitment, and I commend anyone who can do that, and I think it's not meant for everyone, but at the same time, everyone can do it in a
Are
sense.
you doing intermittent fasting right now?
Yeah, kind of like
How many hours do you fast?
I pretty much, so what my thing is I try to get all my meals in before 1 p.m.
Hmm.
Sometimes I won't, sometimes I'll eat at because I work from 3 to 11. So I'll finish all my meals by like 12 or 1, and then I'll wait till whatever 6 or 7 a.m. the next day. So that's
So
about,
you eat everything in the morning.
yeah,
Okay, and okay, good.
because
Do
I
you
prefer it.
do you find it difficult to fall asleep when you don't eat? Because I
I feel
know a
like I
lot of
got used
people
to it.
recommend eating close to it before they go to bed so they could kind of fall. How do you feel?
I feel like I got used to it, to be honest. You might like, obviously there's some days where it's like a little uncomfortable, but to be honest, sometimes I get better sleep on an empty stomach than on a full stomach, because especially with your digestion and stuff. I just like the idea of, like eating all my calories early, using them throughout the day, and then when you wake up, your cortisol's up and like you're ready to eat, you're ready to like use that energy and it's digested properly. For me, like, after COVID, I had like a little bit of abdominal pain and like gut issues.
Oh,
So I had
really?
to reset. Yeah, I had to like reset my diet. I was eating whole foods, like very minimal, not necessarily minimal, but like, I was really conscious of what I was putting into my body. And digestion became like all of a sudden, like a really important thing for me because I didn't like abdominal pain or feeling bloated.
Exactly.
Yeah, so like, even just not eating to the point where you're stuffed is like a good way to, ease that pressure on your digestive tracts. And yeah, like I go for my walk. I just feel like I'm able to eat, and like now I don't eat whatever. Like I either eat my oatmeal or like I'll make spaghetti like these days, or like I'll have eggs or something. But I just feel like eating in the morning is it's fun for me. Like I sometimes I'll eat at work. I'll have like a little meal at like
Yeah.
7 or 8, but more times I just try to get it over with in the morning. And when I wake up, like I'm either a little lighter or the same weight. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like, and I don't feel bloated and I feel ready to eat and then work out and then eat again.
Yeah. So George, if just to change speed a bit, if someone is out there listening and they have family members who are in the same situation you were in, how should they approach them to support them? What's your recommendation?
I mean, my favorite thing is to join them. So if you're like, yo, whatever, like, hey, like Adam, like, we've noticed like you're putting on some weight, let's do a fast together. Like I've done that with some people where it's like I'll fast with you,
Right.
like, or like I'll work out with you, let's go for a run, let's go for a walk. Like doing those things is a great confidence boost. And it's also like, because let's be honest, like at the end of the day, we're sensitive creatures, and a lot of people will get offended as their first response, especially when you're fat. And then especially now with like, oh, like fat phobia and like, fat acceptance and all these like newer, like postmodernist ideologies that are becoming more common. It's like, it's offensive to call someone fat, even if it's like, you're saying it medically. Like you're not saying it like,
Really?
yo,
Yeah.
like, shut up, you're fat. Like you're saying like,
Yeah, you
yo,
can't even say the word no.
yeah.
It's not a very, very
And
sensitive word.
it shouldn't be like that. Obviously, you shouldn't bully people because they're fat. I'm 100% with that. The other day, maybe not the other day, but like 6, 7 months ago, I saw my boy for the first time in a minute. I'm like, bro, I can't lie. Like you put on a lot of weight. I'm like, yo, we need to lose that weight, bro. Like what happened? Like just kind of like half joking, but like it got to him. And yo, since then, he lost 50 pounds. Like he actually like, he started fasting, he started exercising more. He was playing basketball because he's like, yo, like, you're right. So you got to present it in a way that looks appealing to that person as opposed to shaming them for it.
And
You
you were
can,
sharing your stories with him too.
yeah, and he saw my weight loss. And he knew I used to be fat, so that was why I could say that to him. Like it
Mm,
wasn't like I was coming from a place of like arrogance. Like I was coming from a place where I was worse than him, and
yeah.
and he had to listen almost.
What about cycles? People that are going through cycles and cycles and 3 months on and then it's a bad 2 months. And what do you say to those people? What do you say to the people around those people based on what you've gone through?
I mean, relapse is definitely a normal part of ultimately addiction. And I think this isn't just an overweight people problem. I think our society in general is fueling this food addiction through, commercials and capitalistic consumption and just the presentation of food and how we
Mm,
should eat all the time,
yeah.
and the sugars in the food, the salts and all this. It's almost like a drug addiction, really.
Yeah.
And I think one, like you should have faith, either faith in God or faith that you will be able to achieve it. You have to have that determination because and that happens when you start to see results. You're like, you know what, I can do this. I just lost 10 pounds. I'm gonna do 15, I'm gonna do 20. Just start setting little goals.
Hmm.
Realize that, like, it's not gonna be overnight, and you didn't get fat overnight either. So it's, I think for those people around them, and even those who cycle, you just have to kind of surrender your will to, like, God or destiny or whatever you want to call it, and just be like, yo, I'm meant to lose this weight, I'm gonna lose this weight, and understand that, with addiction, that's like, you have to treat it like an addiction.
It
You
truly
have
is an addiction, eh?
it is, it
Mm.
honestly is. And I feel like now, even last month, I would say I was worse, to the point where I would still pig out if I deprived my, and I had this, it's still like my relationship with food wasn't fixed until more recently, because even though I was losing weight and being healthy, I had this binge starve kind of,
Yeah.
like, I would fast, but then like I would like eat a whole like extra,
Hmm.
thing. And I was like, I still had that food addiction. And I'm gonna be real, like, I prayed on it, I prayed to God about it, and then all of a sudden, like, things were good. And now it's like, I try not to eat to the point where I'm stuffed ever. And I just try to eat as healthy as possible,
Try
because
to train your stomach,
yeah,
portion size at least. Yeah.
and you're retraining your mind too, because it's so easy to eat with your eyes, when you're at a
Oh,
buffet or something.
yeah.
We don't need too much, as humans. Like, our bodies and our will is so strong that,
Mm.
you know even like bodybuilders that I know that are getting 250 grams of protein a day, I'm like, wow. Like, like, how are you not constipated? Like, if you're meant to do that, like,
Well,
you're good.
they eat broccoli and a lot of fiber to get that stuff out. That's huge. It's part of their, or it'd be so unhealthy.
Yeah,
It's
and
great.
it's impressive to me. But I guess everyone's body is different. So one, I would say, like, understand your body, whether it's even genetically, what foods are indigenous to my area. For example, with me, like, I'm Syrian and Turkish, not that many pineapples there. I have a reaction when I eat pineapples. Like,
Really?
yeah, like, I'll feel like on top of my mouth, like, I'll feel like a burning
Or is that
tingling
just citrus
sensation.
fruits in general?
Yeah, not mangoes though. I could eat mangoes.
Oh, okay, okay.
But certain foods will trigger certain
Oh,
reactions, and I
yeah.
think you have to really pay attention to that too, and start enjoying those healthy foods. And the best way to do that is to fast. And then food tastes so much better than anything you eat after you fast. You can have a plain potato and it'll taste
Oh, trust
amazing.
me, the appreciation for food is different. It's
It's
totally
different.
different. That's why you got to really refuel on good food, good nutrient dense foods.
Exactly.
Well,
I
George,
think
man, listen, you have instilled a lot of inspiration for a lot of folks out there, because a lot of people are going through cycles. A lot of people have the weight on them and they don't have, they don't even know where to start mentally. But, with more stories like this and more people coming out and say, hey, I was in the same position as you. I found the strength. I found support. I found a group of people that started thinking the same. And here I am. So this is great. I really appreciate you, brother.
Oh, I appreciate you having me, and I hope this serves the inspiration. You're providing a great platform, and hopefully we talk again. Hopefully next time you see me, I'm like a little more ripped, and got a little more
Oh,
muscle.
most definitely. Most definitely. We'll keep in touch for sure. All right. So that's it for today, iLive listeners. Catch me next week, Coach Mike on the Health and Fitness Show, iLive. Take care. Bye for now.